everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Mystical Wellness podcast. We're joined by Helena, who is a fantastic ET channel first contact specialist. And today Helena's going to hopefully channel for us and bring through some guides. So how are you? How are you feeling?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity once more. I'm really grateful for being here with you.
Yeah, we really loved your last video. I had lots of good feedback on it. So people were quite interested to have you back on. So let me know, give us an update of what's going on with you personally. How have you been feeling lately with the different energies?
Yeah, 2025 is gonna be a very, very weird year for me in general. Don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
Um, it's all over the place. Um,
I feel like the year's finished already. Do you feel that there's like a completion energy that's already come in?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I take my cue from my dreams, what they reflect back to me. And it's, yeah, very polarized. So, um, I'm very aware of what they call my other aspects. They call it the soul fractures or the other facets. So you are a soul being, but from a higher perspective, you have a bunch of experiences, incarnated experiences, all at the same time. So somehow I'm capable of tapping into that. I can sometimes during the day do it, but I don't really have the focus. So what my soul does, it does this at night. It lets me tap into these other lifetimes. So I'm very aware of my other lifetimes. They can come across as past lifetimes, as present lifetimes, or as future lifetimes. So what I'm basically doing, I'm blending. Sometimes I blend myself with a parallel self. Sometimes I blend myself with a being that feels like really somebody else. So what my higher self is basically doing is really jump starting the integration process to a next level degree. I've been doing the awareness thing my entire life, but I didn't understand what it was. But now my 3D human personality is allowed to step through way more, like it's given all these responsibilities. I see it as a way that my other aspects show me that they trust me, because you are given a huge responsibility once you are allowed to do this. So I'm basically allowed to merge with other aspects of myself, and I'm not only allowed to witness but also to influence. So I get a little bit of the steering wheel. It can be likened to lucid dreaming, but it's really next level. I bring in my own personality, my own knowledge, my own insights into these other lifetimes of myself. Sometimes I notice that it's more appropriate to take a back seat and steer a little bit. Sometimes it's really necessary to be more of an influence, so I act however is appropriate. And my soul lets me do these mergings with all types of aspects of myself on different densities and different dimensions. So it lets me experience aspects of myself that are having not so nice incarnations. And those aspects need help, and they could see me, even though I'm just a 3D human, they could see this me as a guide, as a more advanced being that they are. So then I'm basically a spirit guide to myself, which is quite interesting.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah,
'Cause
I've done that many times.
I feel like I've got all these other aspects of me, alters that I'm aware of now, but I still don't know what's going on. right? So
Yeah,
I don't know how to connect with them that much. I'm starting to get like feel like they're talking to me now. And one of them came through with a name recently, and I was able to trace and get some information from it. But I feel like I've got no idea what's going on. So it's great that you're blending in all your
yeah.
different lifetimes and like going to work with them together. That's amazing.
Yeah, you need to be at a certain stage to be able to deal with this, because if I would be a little less advanced than I am at this stage of my soul evolution, my physical self would have a psychotic breakdown, would become schizophrenic, would become completely yeah, dysfunctional, have all kinds of psychological problems. So you need to be ready to integrate, because that's what I was trying to get to. It lets me integrate both the positive, the negative, the horrible lifetimes, but also the very empowering lifetimes. So I get this whole buffet of experiences and get to feel what it's like. And I know these are all aspects of myself. Some are doing great, others are not doing so great. Some are what you would call in a very very long time ago in a very different reality. Some are in a reality similar to Earth. Others are in reality almost exactly the same as Earth. And then there's also a whole bunch of future lifetimes. And I really get to compare. So that's oh, I'm back. I was frozen for a
You
bit.
dropped out for a minute there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was saying, I can compare what it's like in different realities, different dimensions, different frequency ranges, different densities, whatever you want to call it, different bodies, different cultures, different planets, different political systems, different cultures, different ways of being, no technology, full on technology, just anything you can imagine. I have lifetimes in full blown magical realities where magic is part of the system of that consensus reality. There's other lifetimes that are very, very much like this really confined physical reality where it's very unlikely to display superpowers, and then there's everything in between. And it's very interesting to blend with those versions of myself that reside in fantasy realities. That's super interesting to blend with them. I have a few parallel selves that can, for example, instant manifest with their thoughts, and I'm allowed now and then, at least a few times a month, to blend with them. And we're not used to that at all. We
So
can think
are
of
they on?
something all day long and nothing happens, but there, if you think something, it actually manifests. So,
Yeah, are they on
yeah,
like a version of Earth where you can manifest and use magic powers, or is it another planet?
both. Yeah.
Wow. So what does Earth look like for people who can use their superpowers every day?
Mm, in those realities, I tend to be one of the first. So I tend to display superpowers, and then I see how others react to that. Sometimes there are others with superpowers, but I tend to be one of the first. Then I'm always very careful. I try some telekinesis. I see how they react. Do they get scared? Do they not care? Sometimes you get very weird reactions. Often I work with groups in those types of realities. Once you have superpowers and you're a responsible, benevolent being, you automatically get thrown into some type of leader position where you protect the others and you guide them and you help them as much as possible. But the thing is, it gets blended with 3D, so I have versions. The full version knows exactly what it's doing, but when it gets blended with 3D me, yeah, it's way more difficult because I come from a completely different reality paradigm where, like I said, what I think it doesn't seem to matter, and then all of a sudden, what you think is of extreme importance and has a huge impact. So it completely changes your perspective of reality, and it makes me aware, like, okay, that's the reality we're going to, and then it's going to have a huge impact. I can get little tastes of what it will be like on Earth once the Starseeds will finally be activated and get their superpowers. There's many ways to go about this. There's many series and movies on that topic as well, where people all of a sudden get superpowers and see how that impacts reality. It's very interesting to see. So there's also benevolent versions of that, where it creates peace and prosperity. There's also regressive versions of that, where it makes you a target, or it's difficult. It's not an easy thing. So I'm trying out both these timelines. Yeah, most of them tend to play with the theme of, okay, Earth's not doing very well, and these activated starseeds are actually the ones that are gonna make all the difference. I think that's gonna be the most likely timeline to also physicalize in this reality.
Yeah, I agree. A friend of mine did see a future where we'd all had to go underground. So all the supers had, they'd come out with their powers. Then there'd been something had happened, and we'd all had to hide. And there's a cartoon movie like that, The Incredibles, I think, where they were all celebrated, then suddenly they were not. But in his reality, something happened, and he had to reveal his superpowers right in the future. So then we all kind of came back out. But I've noticed lately that the more I connect with people who have telepathy, my telepathy is starting to activate. Like, I'm able to tune in unknowingly and do, like, mind reading is starting to activate. Does that happen to you? Can you read people's minds in the here and now?
In a way, I wouldn't say I literally know what they're thinking, but I know conceptual what's going on in their head, what they're feeling, or the state of mind they're in. So I think benevolent beings will always respect other souls' privacy to a certain degree, but you can definitely pick up on things. I do have strong intuition. I can, of course, have telepathic communication with star beings or ET guides and the likes. But when it comes down to humans, I think it's a little bit more complicated. Also, with the
Mm.
fact that they're what we call backdrop people or NPCs, or people run by the Matrix, by egregors, not full blown souls.
Mm.
So I often pick up more on programming than actual sovereign thoughts manifested by a soul. But I do pick up on major themes that are played out in this matrix that are looping, and many people are playing out. That's something I constantly pick up on.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely does seem to be heightened intuition. I ask a question and people are like, how do you know to ask me that? Well, I have no idea. It's just coming in. So do you want to see which guide would like to come forward and have a chat with us? And it can be anybody at all. I really don't mind.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
give it a go. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. This is Reece of the Sassani. Thank you so much for the allowance of this co-creation and communication. How may I be of assistance to you?
Hi, Reece. It's so lovely to connect with you. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, please?
Yes, so I'm a member of the Sassani race. If you are not familiar with them, you can see them as a type of future hybrid being, a mixture between gray and human in a simplified version. So we're a type of an offshoot. Linearly speaking, our civilization came to its full fruition in what you would call the future, type of parallel version of your reality. So we're in a type of mental state where we are more aware of the nature of reality and the connections we have in the here and now. So this is the reason why beings such as myself can step forward in this manner and come to assist. So myself, I'm a first contact specialist, so that means I do explorations and I travel the vastness of the universe to come in contact with other beings, other civilizations, and other types of realities. I do this mainly in a type of solo mission type of style, but I also frequently go back to my home planet as Sassani or to one of our motherships. So, yes, this is my passion and my excitement to explore reality in this way. And I also make myself available to be a guide and to be of assistance through Helena in her here and now to assist her on her journey. And I also make myself available to be assistant to be an assistant in the collective.
So, are you an aspect of Helena, or how did you connect with her energy?
Yes, so you can see her as a future parallel self. So we share the same oversoul. So members of the same oversoul can more easily tap into each other. So from a physical perspective, you could say a future self. Yes.
Can you see if I have any Asani connections?
Yes, via the well-known hybridization program, and also in a way that your future incarnations will be in one of those hybridized bodies, and they have a connection with us and the Yael. So yes, more in a future way and in a current way, by also participating to a certain level in the hybridization program. Yes.
So, am I already in the hybridization program now, working with the Zeta Greys?
Yes, correct.
I was told I was a scientist. Is that still correct?
It depends a bit on your point of view. Do you have such aspects? Yes, as your human self, you could say that you cooperate from a oversoul level and that your human aspect aligns with this and is in agreement with this path. So in that way, we can confirm, yes.
Okay. So recently it came to my attention that I could have another aspect of me with the same oversoul connection, but who was like a sibling, like a brother. Is that an aspect of me? Are we the same oversoul, or are they separate?
Are you referring to a brother in this specific lifetime or just in general that you have a brother in a parallel reality?
Now, in this specific timeline.
All right, we'll scan into that one moment. Well, we would say of the same soul family, so it can get a little bit tricky. So there's this whole idea of what's been referred to as twin flame, where one soul aspect divides itself directly. This tends to be more in the case of twins and certain romantic relationships, but with the aspect of family members, it's more of a soul family connection.
That's good, thank you. So what can you tell us about, a lot of people are talking about this 3-eye atlas that's off planet right now. Is this something that we should be interested in?
Yes, definitely. So for us, it's very exciting. It's a sign that humanity in a whole is more open to these ideas and shows a larger interest. And in your current day and age, it's much easier for you to communicate and speculate and share your thoughts. Just imagine the same scenario 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 60 years ago, how different that would be. So not only because of your technology, but also because the mind frame, the overall collective, its views. So the star seeds have been having a huge impact. So this topic in general shows up more, and people in general take it more serious and show more of an interest, and it pops up in your social media, which is a type of a reflection of your collective unconscious mind. So in a way, it's also probing your mind to see to what degree you are receptive of this, and to a degree how this impacts the star seeds, but also the native soul collective. So you can see it as a massive science experiment in a way. So on that higher level, it is a type of way to find out how humanity reacts to these types of things, how they think about it, how they feel about it, how they discuss about it, what goes on in their imagination. So it's more of a thought experiment as well than being something very literal that is going to have some very literal physical effect. So try to approach this more of a conceptual way. This is also one of the reasons why there are so many divided opinions and divided perspectives on this. There's many different things being said about this phenomena, because in a way it reflects back where you are at your soul evolution together with your human evolution. So do you approach such an object in a classical scientific materialistic way? Do you want the science to explain it for you with their telescopes and their science? Do you approach it more on a typical new age spiritual way, where you will say, oh, it's that benevolent ET race coming to help Earth? Do you have it also more in the spiritual sense, but in a more of a negative way, where it's regressive ETs coming to invade? So there's a lot of interpretations going on. You can say that anything happening outside what you can refer your Van Allen belt is a bit of a blended reality. So your Earth collective is a very fixed reality. Out there, you can almost see space as a multidimensional level. So there's many layers to it, and it's not as simple as your scientists explain space to be just vast emptiness with these stars scattered all over and these planets. Space is something way more complex. in a way. So when you have objects that come into your awareness, they often have a much deeper meaning than just the obvious. And especially now, these objects are in a way visitors from far away, in that way literally, but also in that more of a conceptual way. So for a collective, when something comes out of their own solar system, you could say an object feels more like home, and it doesn't raise the same effect than when an object comes from another galaxy. It will automatically have a different effect. So a human isn't only bound to its planet or its physical body, it has a type of solar system awareness as well. A human is also affected by the planets within your solar system, and there's a certain balance and a certain order to it. So when there's a visitor coming from out the solar system, this will automatically have an impact on the human that's very different than when you would observe or be aware of a celestial object that is part of your solar system. So this is also very important to be aware that it has a very, very different impact. On an intuitive level, unconscious level, humanity will realize this is something more exotic, something more special, something that might feel a little bit more invasive. It's not your typical celestial object, and people are aware of that. It doesn't act in the typical ways. So what it also does is it just is literally here to stretch your imagination. What do people in general imagine this to be? Do they imagine it to just be the typical space object that can be explained by science? Or do they imagine it to be so much more? So it's a bit like a thermometer. It's taking the temperature, but in that way that it's seeing where humanity is at a collective level. If it's ready for more of these strange objects, if it's ready to have its imagination stretched even further, or if it's had enough for a while, then it needs a break, so to speak, before we go to the next level. So this object in a way has many purposes.
So, is there one truth about this object, or do we project what we believe onto the object and create that
Yes,
reality?
yes,
Okay.
exactly, yes.
Because when I was, I expanded out my consciousness, and when I was out there, I thought, oh, let's have a look at this object, this three-eye atlas. And I looked down on it and I thought it was insignificant. And I just pushed it out of my awareness. So for me, I'm very neutral about it, but other people have
Yes.
lots of different. So what's the truth there?
Well, I would say, and I'm going to speak for the channeler, Helena, a little bit, just as an example, when you are a very, very awakened, aware starseed, in a way, that object can be seen as you call gaslighting, because there's a huge deal being made over this object, like it's wow, amazing, so special, all these things. Whilst as an awakened starseed, you are aware that this is extremely normal. There's nothing special about it. There's literally thousands upon thousands of spaceships passing by Earth all the time. It's normal for you to be visited by special objects, and it's also normal for you to be visited by objects that are 100% of an ET origin and have ET passengers. So it's representing the truth in a deceitful way. It's showing you a version of reality that in a way is also disempowering, because the starseeds who are on Earth, they know that the solar system is literally littered with spaceships, with ETs. So why is nobody pointing that out? Why is nobody showing pictures of that? Why is that not all over social media, all over the news? Why that specific object? Why is all the rest being hidden and censored? So, on a grand scale, it is in a way meaningless for at least for an awakened starseed. That object is meaningless because it doesn't prove or show anything, because you know that ETs are real. You know that ETs pass by Earth all the time, and they've been doing so for thousands upon thousands of years. So it creates a distorted version of reality to give that specific object so much praise and importance, while everything else that goes on is in a way put under the rug. So you also understand that there's a layer of deceit. Why is this object being allowed to be put in mainstream media, and why is open disclosure still not going on? So to a certain level, a starship will also understand that this is also a misdirect in a way, but it's an object that is interacting with that low density, very physical version of reality and the collective consensus reality of humanity, while the level that awakened starseeds are at, that's not integrated by the whole collective. So that true version of reality where spaceships flying by Earth is normal. They're not ready to integrate that version yet, which is the true version, but they are ready to integrate the version where there's a very strange space object passing by. So from that perspective, this object is not really very relevant. There's many other things going on right now that are way more important than 3i Atlas is or ever will be, and this is kept hush hush. So that's why you have that perspective of it not being very relevant. Yes.
We also have the Buga sphere artifacts on the planet right now. Can you speak a little bit on what they are and if they're important for us to investigate or not?
Yes, so they are also of ET nature. You could say they are a direct occurrence having to do with the veil being lifted, or 4D, for density being integrated, as you call it. So this will be the new normal. So again, you can call it a type of gaslighting, because these objects have always been there. There's actually, from a correct point of view, nothing special about it. It's your inheritance. You have this technology. This is actually normal, but you were deceived into a way where you think there's nothing normal about it and it's very special. So you have to shift your whole paradigm to such objects becoming normal again. But the only ones that can, in a way, normalize this is the starseeds, who are the bridge. So they are, in a way, opening portals to that reality where these things are normal. So at first it will be seen as very novel, very unique, very special. But once the curtain is fully dropped, so to speak, people will understand that this has been there all along, that humanity had access to these types of technologies before the quarantine zone, roughly 12,500 years ago. This was normal. You come from the stars, you used to have your own spaceships, you're actually very advanced beings. So these are little puzzle pieces that will help humanity completely shift their perspective on reality. But because they couldn't handle it all at once, it's basically done in what you could call baby steps. And one of those baby steps is those types of ET objects all of a sudden popping up.
Wow, that's amazing. So recently I was doing some memory recall, and I found myself in India in a deep underground base that I think was actually an ancient ship. Um, do you have any information about me in India in secret space programs, or the origins of that ship that's in India, please?
Yes, so the fall of Lemuria led to many ETs having to flee, and one of the areas that they fled to was India and also the Himalaya region. So there's many portals there through which survivors could go underground. There's many remnants of ships and underground bases there. Many of them got lost or forgotten, or the ones that remembered were wiped out, or they had to go into hiding, or they had to leave the planet. So this is all now shrouded in mystery. But again, these things are popping up to the surface, so starseeds are meant to slowly start to remember these things again. They help humanity remember that indeed these ancient sites, these old spaceships, these underground tunnels and regions, that they're all real, and they again need to be slowly rediscovered in a way that the human collective can handle these types of things.
So when I was living in India for 10 years, can you see if I was used as an asset as part of the super soldier programs?
All right, we have to scan into this for a moment. Well, because of the wars that went on there and certain disbalances in the Earth's system, the Earth grid, those types of areas, you could say, are a little bit more fragile. So this is actually a thing that you can generalize. Sometimes things are more simple as they seem. So if you notice certain areas within your planet where people are more struggling and there's more inequality and more poverty, these these can be seen as types of dips in the frequency field that can be directly linked to the Earth's grid system. So India has one of those frequency dips, so that translates there as the Hinduism caste system, where you indeed notice people starving in the streets, and it's because of karma, they deserve it, they were a bad person in their previous life, so they have to suffer now. So this is a type of a translation of a very dark vortex in a way that then spews out all these negative belief systems. So these dark vortices, these dips in the grid system, they also make it easier for nefarious entities to come through and to have an effect, to what you would call influence or even possess others in general, or bring through their energies, pierce the layer, pierce their veil, but in a negative sense, where they can influence the material world. It's easier for them in these low frequency areas. So what you could call the Cabal and the space agent programs, the secret space agent programs, they are also ultimately run by these negative astral entities, and they are aware of that in these lower frequency areas, it's easier to influence the minds of others, and also star seeds, it's easier to have an impact, to influence, and to play out what they wish, to just force their timelines and their wishes upon others, because in a way you are more in more of a vulnerable state in these places. So they in a way took advantage of that, and it was easier to use you for their own means.
Okay. Thank you. That's great. In my mind at the moment, I feel like there's a Stargate that wants to communicate, and it's a Stargate that moves around. Can you track movable Stargates on the planet? Is there Stargates that are going to suddenly become available? Maybe they've been hidden for a long time.
So there's two levels of this. So you have Earth's natural vortices that pop in and out in a natural way. And then you have the ones that are created to various means of technology by various means of races with different agendas and types of purposes behind these things. So they can also be a bit of a combination, so this can be a little bit tricky. So natural vortices can also be harnesses and in a way put in chains and kept open through force, through technology, or kept closed through force and technology. So there's also a combination of that. So what we sense is that you do work with these natural portals, and some of them are being used, abused, misused, and they do reach out to conscious beings that they know are aware of these things and know that from a higher perspective, their ET self or their 5D self, they know how to work with these things. So they are conscious beings in themselves. So you can say that the natural vortex, a natural portal, is a type of an entity into itself. You can liken it to the same type of consciousness level as minerals, plants, and some lower animals. So it does have a type of consciousness and it can reach out. So it does reach out. So this is what we're sensing, that they're asking you to work with them because you have these parallel lifetimes that where you are aware of working with portals and you know how it all works. So it's a little bit like you know how to break the chains or how to open the prison system in a way, in a manner, and they are aware of that. So their unconscious level is reaching out to your unconscious level and it's seeping into your conscious mind, and then it translates in these ways. But in a way, you can say that these natural vortices are also in a way children of Gaia, children of your planet, and they know where to find out certain experts that know about these things and can help in more concrete ways.
That sounds really exciting. Thank you. So I've just got one more personal thing, and so I haven't. I've met somebody who remembers me on a colony, an off-world colony, but we don't know the location except that there was a tall black tower that looked like a DNA helix that had purple windows, and it was like a cyberpunk kind of futuristic, maybe German, Japanese society. Can you get a location on that colony, please?
Well, the first thing that pops up is Mars. Mars has some human colonies. They can be in realities that are just out of reach. So you wouldn't see them directly where you would point a telescope in the right direction. They're slightly shifted versions of reality on a slightly different frequency range. But there's versions of Mars that indeed have these type of colonies and these types of cities. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's really interesting. Can you let us know, why do you think so many artifacts are now being discovered in Mexico and other places? Why is that coming forward now?
Yes, it's because it's time to remember and you're ready to remember, and these things need to happen slowly. So it's a bit like it's been always right in front of you, but you are in a too much of a low frequency range. And when we say you, we mean the human collective. So if you're not a vibrational match, something that's right in front of you will be literally invisible to you. So the same way what you call astral entities, fairies, goblins, and the likes. So one of these beings could be literally standing right in front of you, but because you're not a vibrational match, you will just not perceive it, or you perceive it in another way. So this counts not only for beings, but also for objects. If an object is out of your frequency range, it will not come into your awareness, even though the object's been lying in front of you your entire life, to give a bold statement. If it's not in your perception range, it will be literally invisible. So once the collective starts to raise its frequency, it will all of a sudden start to see more things. So this is why they speak of the darkness and the light. So it can be seen as a metaphor, but also literally in the dark. You cannot see something when the light is shined upon it. All these things become visible all of a sudden. People are intuitively guided to the right places where to find these things. So in a way, it's part of the awakening process to remember and to find all these things, like a big treasure hunt. And then people will recognize more and more that these things were always there, but they were just oblivious to it because of the very low frequency, low vibrational range humanity was kind of stuck in for quite a while.
That's great, thank you. Can you tell what percentage of Egyptian and Greek gods are currently incarnated on the planet now?
That's a bit of a tricky question because, in a way, all these types of beings, they are ascended into a type of archetype, and many souls can tap into that archetype. So there's, we would say, somewhere roughly between 100,000 and 200,000 souls directly tapping into that archetype in some way of another. So in general, that might seem quite low. You must understand that tapping into these archetypes is a long lost art in a way. And when you're not aware that such a thing is even possible, it's very unlikely for you to do so. So the type of people that tend to do this are the ones that are more focused on paganism, what you would call ancient religions. And these type of people are in a vast minority, at least in a way that they fully believe in these types of things. So this is more on the layers of certain secret societies and deep underground paganism systems, even some types of cults, but not cults so much in a negative sense. So the full embodiment or almost full embodiment of these types of beings is quite limited, but it will start to expand more and more in your future.
Will we get access to powers, do you think?
Yes, in a way that it will start to bleed through in your physical reality, of course, because you already have access to these things in parallel versions of yourself, but we understand for many of you that doesn't really count,
Okay.
and we understand that fully. So, in a way that it will start to more physicalize, it will be also a gradual progress because these things need to be handled with care and responsibility. So the direct access is always there in a way that it can be used as an inspiration, that you can be inspired by a god's power or sense of responsibility or certain aspect, beauty aspects, or pure nature power aspect. So there's all these types of aspects that you can tap into that will in a way slowly manifest more and more. So there's aspects that are more easy for a modern human to integrate, and then there's other aspects that are a little bit more difficult because not so much that it's difficult for them personally, but there's a lot of resistance within your human collective because of mainstream religion having a big footprint into your collective mindsets, where these things are deemed as impossible or fake or woo and the like. So there's a lot of resistance, and if these types of things are possible, many people believed for some reason that was only possible in the past. So such things don't happen in the here and now, or they have very limited belief systems that it only happens to Jesus or certain saints. And for some reason these types of things were for 2000 years ago, but in the current day and age, for some reason, having superpowers is as good as impossible. And if they do have superpowers, they are channeling one of these ancient religious figures. So they have been extremely limited in their thinking and very closed off in possibilities. So you have to understand that these archetypes, such as these Greek gods and Egyptian gods, need to be fully integrated back into the collective unconsciousness. And for that, those mainstream religions have to be more lenient and be more melting away into the background for that full resistance to drop. So these other systems can come back to the forefront.
That's really amazing. Thank you. So, do you have like a message for humanity about what's coming forward for the rest of the year? Is there something particular we should be aware of? Thank you.
Yeah, so always be aware of the idea of the splitting timelines. So try to see reality a bit like a buffet. If you're like out in a holiday and you have this buffet, some people will take the pizza, other people will want the pasta, others will want the grills, some people go straight for the desserts. So is anybody wrong or right? Is a person going for the pizza in its way wrong or right? Is the person going for the steak wrong or right? No, it all boils down to personal need and personal preference. But many of you are made to think that there's no such thing. You cannot pick and choose your reality. It's believing in determinism, fatalism. Things are the way they are, and there's nothing you can do. It's all set out, and you don't believe in free will, basically. So that's aligns with a type of satanic system where you feel yourself completely disempowered, and reality is set before you, and you just have to suffer through it. So we want to bring you an alternative where you remember again that you are sovereign and free beings, and that you can choose. Even as your limited human self, you still have choice, you have free will. You can say no to a certain reality that's not of your preference, and you can say yes to a reality that is of your preference. So just see yourself as somebody who's picking and choosing all the time. When something is presented to you through your news or social media, does it align with your true self? Does it excite you? Does it passionate you? Is it a representation of you and what you want? Ask yourself this constantly. If it's a no, move away from it whilst not disvaluing it, understanding that it might be valuable to other souls, but it's not for you. Just say no, thank you, and always move into the direction of what does represent your true self, what does excite you. So if you want to believe that 3i Atlas was full of benevolent ETs coming to help, you are entitled to believe that, because then you will shift yourself to a parallel version of reality that is perfectly aligned with that ID. Even if it doesn't manifest directly, you have made a statement. Every single thought you make, every single action you take is a statement to the universe. So in the way, always remember that we would call God, source, or all that is, it doesn't really have a preference, it doesn't really have an opinion, because it's everything at the same time. So in a way, you could see yourself as avatars and judges of source. You are its representation, so source cannot really fully have an own opinion, but an incarnated soul can have an opinion. It can say yes to this and no to that. So you constantly are making votes with your actions and what you choose. You're constantly voting what you want more of and what you want less of, and the universe or source is constantly taking notes. It's a bit like a very neutral caster. It can create anything that you want, but it doesn't really have an opinion. So you have to, in a way, guide it. You have to say, yes, I want more of that. No, thank you, that's not for me. So you have to, in a way, carve out your own path. You have to do a combination of constantly choosing, taking responsibility, choosing with willpower and conviction, and doing this as much as you can without disvaluing anybody else's choices. Just know, okay, that person is not ready to fully embody their sovereignty, and they can learn along the way that if they follow somebody else's story, they will only end up left behind in a type of way. But when I choose my own path, I can take full responsibility, and I know that I took the steering wheel of my own destiny, my own fate, and I didn't let anything or anyone else decide. Because what humanity gets constantly are suggestions, but you don't come up with your own alternative in many cases. So if there's absolutely nothing out there that excites you or is of your liking, create something brand new of yourself. Create a new path, carve out a new path for Earth, for humanity, even if you have to start from scratch. So always go for the idea of what is a representation of your true self, your true excitement. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your reality to look like? And don't even worry on how you're going to get to that, because as we said previously, that's the job of what you call God, sorcerer, all that is. That literally is job. You just have to set the preferences. Yes to that, no to that, more of this, less of that. You just have to be constantly voting, and source will take care of everything else. So if you can live your life more from that perspective, you will find much more joy and much more passion, much more excitement, much more love in your lifetimes.
That's great, thank you. So there's a lot of infiltration in the community, and there's people around that are just have so much conflict. At what point is it okay for me to just change timelines and stuff to affect the greatest good for those people? Am I allowed to step in, or do I have to just sit back and watch the conflict?
Well, ultimately, it's best to see it as a distraction. That doesn't mean that you have to stick your head in the sand and just completely ignore it and act as if it is not happening, because that is devaluating it onto itself. So understand that these things are really happening. It's real. You don't have to tell yourself you're just imagining these things, or you have to use your law of attraction, like they say, just think positive things and these things will automatically disappear. You don't have to see it from such an extreme perspective. So, what we would say is keep speaking your truth and keep being the best representation of yourself that you can be. Keep being an example. So you can say these things out loud. You can face them. You can say, okay, yes, like you're saying now, this infiltration, there's negativity trying to influence. It's a fact. The trick is to not let it, what you would call, trigger you, not let it, what you would call, piss you off, get you angry, get you sad, get you depressed. And even if it does, sit with it and transform it, bring it back to neutral, bring it back to neutral energy and do something else with it. So the ultimate goal, we would say, is to bring yourself in a state where, yes, you are very aware all these things are happening and they are happening, but it doesn't affect you anymore. And when these types of energies cannot feed off of you anymore, cannot trigger you anymore, you can stay in a neutral state like a type of master, then these things will automatically start to vanish out of your reality. They will have nothing to do with you. They won't get what they want from you, so they will automatically start to dissipate. So if you do want to address them, make videos about them, talk to these people, that's all fine, but always look into yourself. How is this affecting your state of being? How is this affecting your emotions? And that's all you ultimately need to worry about, is how it's affecting you. If you can stay perfectly calm and neutral during these types of conflicts, you have mastered it, and you will automatically notice that it starts to shift into something else. But as long as you have the ideas of being a victim or being a target or have been stuck in a loop, always have these conflicts going on, seem to have the idea that there's no way out, it's always going to be like that, they have basically done what they're set out to do and implant these negative thoughts and have you looping on them. But if you are aware that yes, these things exist, but you don't let them affect you so much anymore, you will see that you can shift into parallel versions of reality where these things start to really fade into the background.
Reece, this has been so good. Thank you so much. Do you think we could bring back the medium? Bring back Helena?
Yes, of course.
Thank
Our
you.
unconditional love and appreciation for this opportunity to speak. We wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you.
I'm back.
Oh, you come back fast. I'm
Yeah,
not sure how long to go on for, because I didn't want to tire you out too much. We didn't discuss that actually, did we?
it's
So,
alright.
are you consciously aware when they're talking?
Yeah, I do fade into the background. So, at the beginning of my channeling career, I was a bit disappointed that I wasn't a trance channeler. But actually, it's better to not be a trance channeler. And they say the new generation of starseeds isn't supposed to be a trance channeler. So, it's I go into the background, but I learned to enjoy it. So I'm literally a translation machine. That's also why my speech isn't perfect. I just constantly get sent thoughts. I know what to say. It's a bit like having divine inspiration, just knowing what to say, and then my human mind is just translating it into to human words. And as I'm aware, I can also word it in a way that humans will understand it, because sometimes with ETs, especially transchannel ETs, they're not very relatable, or they use types of wordings that I noticed that people will misinterpret this. So I try to help Reece to formulate his ideas, thoughts, and concepts into a way that is gonna have the best impact on the humans listening to it. So I basically make him relatable.
That's awesome. Do you get visuals coming in as well? Can you?
Yeah, I have a very awakened third eye. I've had it my entire life, but it has really strengthened the last few years. When I close my eyes, now I almost always have some type of a vision. But the types of questions you asked, they didn't really come so much with visions sometimes, but when somebody asks, oh, what does my ET self look like, I can go in every single detail
Yeah. Oh
what
wow, I
they
should
look
have
like.
asked. But
Yeah.
I've right now I've got like 27 altars that I'm aware of, so I just thought I'll just leave
Yeah,
it. Maybe
yeah, that's
another time. I
awesome.
didn't want to get too personal. But yeah, so when I was talking about India, could you see like the ship in India, or what could you see?
Yeah, I immediately saw all these type of Hindu temples, the typical aesthetics of this over the top carved down stone temples and these plateaus that they have, which actually used to be landing spaces for ships, and they
Yeah.
would go open to go in underground. And I saw the jungle environment, and also saw yeah how that area has been compromised. So those are things I could see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating because not a lot of people are talking about the Indian SSP, and because I lived out there for a long time, I know that like the American, UK, Russian, Indian projects are all kind of merged in together in that location because I've been representing all of them, I think. So that's something that I definitely want to dig into a bit more, and hopefully find some other people who knew me when I was out there for so long. But at the time, I wasn't aware like I am now. But I was isolated for a long time out there as well, which probably made it easier for me to be in the projects because I lived like a hermit for so long. And I wouldn't have noticed missing time or whatever, and neither would the people that I was connected to because I was so isolated. So that's mad. But this has been so good. Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we finish? I could talk to you all day, by the way.
About these areas. There's spots where the matrix is less dense, and Africa is one of them. I would imagine many
Ah,
parts of Asia as well. So
yeah,
when there's less people, the matrix is less dense. So that means that the programming is less influential, and with Starseed especially, it's easier to look through the veil to connect with what I call 5D. So anything ET, SSP, it's much easier to remember and to come into contact with. So that's perfectly normal. So it is the case if you want to have more of these experiences, go live somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and it's
yeah,
more likely for you to have 5D experiences. Whilst where you'll live in North America and Central Europe is the worst. Those are the two most matrixed places on the earth, and there's less likely you'll have any supernatural or metaphysical experiences.
yeah. That's interesting because I was like, because I was living in India for more than 10 years, and then there was like everything collapsed around me and my husband, and it was like I was pushed to come back to the UK. So that's something that I still need to try and figure out. What was it, the programs that moved me back? Because now when I look back at the last 25 years, everything seems to have been engineered for me. I don't think I
Yeah,
made any of those choices myself, to be honest.
I would say star seeds are placed where they are needed. So being in these places where there's hardly any matrix, it's not much to influence it. It's like
Yeah,
putting a candle next to the sun, basically. Where do you put a candle? You put it in a dark room, and what's the analogy? The dark room here is a very matrixed places, eh? So our light is needed at the worst spots on the
yeah,
planet. And I do see starseeds who have these periods, but most of them end up yeah in these types of areas. You see it everywhere on the internet as well. Most awakened starseeds, they are either European or from North America. It's quite obvious.
yeah. Because even being in, being British, I was still in American programs, and I think a lot of people were like they're quite surprised at that. But I've had the memories come in now of how I even went over there from like 5 years old, so I've got kind of recall on that now as well. And there was a lot of UK super soldiers who were in American,
Yeah,
Russian, and Australian programs.
it's
It's
the
insane.
places that are the worst. It's where I go in the astral as well. In the
Yeah,
astral, when I go spy on the cabal, so to speak, it's always England or North America, sometimes Russia,
yeah,
sometimes the Vatican. So that's where it's at. It's just the way it
yeah.
is.
So Russian stuff is coming into my awareness, but I've kind of been warned off it a little bit, so I didn't want to ask anything. So we talk about that later. So
Yeah,
yeah, something's not quite right there.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's quite complicated for me as well.
yeah,
Which is baffling, and stuff going on Central Europe is becoming more obvious to me as well.
yeah.
These things, it's very daunting and very confrontational, and there's many regular humans working for all these programs, and it's hard to deal with when you go into these laboratories and underground facilities, and there's just
Mm,
regular people working there. It's not as simple as,
yeah.
oh, just go blow up the place. You would
No.
literally kill literal thousands of innocent humans. So it's all very complicated.
That massive clone facility in the middle of Europe, I by accident discovered that, yeah, with a friend of mine. I was like, oh no, 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 let's get out, get out. Yeah, so I think all of these places, we've visited them all as being an asset, but it's really dodgy. So I'm trying to
Yeah,
focus on off-world stuff more at the moment. So the Mars and things like that. I'm trying to get that clear in my mind. Who other versions of me that were not so nefarious, versions of me that were just spies, not like mad scientists and stuff, because I've got a lot of that, which is really disturbing.
yeah.
Oh,
I see them a lot. The mad scientist type. I come across them quite often.
yeah. So Reese's energy was very calm and nice. It wasn't too much. Because last time we met, your energy was really like overpowered, and I was like, "Whoa, this is a lot." But Reese's energy was very calming. Do you think that's because I've got Asani as well in my DNA?
Yeah, it could be that they helped with that when they noticed, oh, we need to help her with that. So it could be that there was some help in the
Right?
background. I remember with my first Sassani experience, I was completely blown away as well. It was so intense that I hardly could fall asleep that night. So they do know when people get overwhelmed, they know how to tune it down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Great. Have you got anything coming up that you wanted to mention, or any offers or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm still offering the channelings. Yeah, I was thinking of doing maybe a discount, so if people wanna connect to me, we'll put my email address back in the description.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm willing to give them a discount if they said that they came through via you. So
yeah.
normally 150 euros an hour, so I'll do a discount for the people that mention your channel, and I'll do an hour channeling for 100 euros. So
Oh
that's
wow, that's
50 euros
amazing.
off.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. Well, this has been so good, and I would love to do more with you on a regular basis, and to meet in with the Yael as well at some point. That would be brilliant.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you again for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for supporting me and watching my second video on this channel. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again maybe in a couple of weeks. Bye bye.